So what exactly is unified communications? You may be interested to know that many struggle with the same question. You see, the vendor community, industry analysts, the tech media, and other interested parties all seem to take a slightly different cut at defining the term. However, one thing all can agree on is that through unified communications, we're able to break down the silos and barriers that restrict the free flow of data and information. Unified Communications, or UC, is providing an enormous boost to public and private sector organizations by creating newfound efficiencies and driving added profit directly to the bottom line. In this report, we'll fully explore the story of Unified Communications, enabling viewers to gain valuable insight into the challenges and benefits of this rapidly rising paradigm. Hello, I'm Michael Quinlan, and welcome to Unified Communications, an Introduction. This program features expert Mike Johnson, Director of Communication and Collaboration Architectures for Logicalis US. Logicalis is an international IT solutions and managed services provider with expertise in enterprise communications, collaboration, data center, and cloud services. There are several teaching points in this program. First, we'll take time to explain and define the term unified communications. We'll break down its components and learn about its business benefits. Next, we'll drill down into the details of UC and discuss implementation challenges and how to navigate around them. And then, a look at the vendor landscape and discuss how organizations can make good choices when selecting vendors and service providers. We'll then conclude with added thoughts and advice from our expert. In our first segment, we'll introduce you to the concept of unified communications and discuss its business drivers and benefits. CIOs and IT professionals today are under constant pressure to implement technology solutions that will enable the organization to compete in this unforgiving, highly competitive global economy. Now, one key area of focus in order to grow the business and increase competitive advantage has got to be the effective management of enterprise communications and the devices and technologies that support it. We're all aware that workers today need to quickly and seamlessly share critical data and information between colleagues, customers, and partners. But often getting disparate communication devices, systems, and applications to communicate with each other across the globe or even across the room can be an onerous challenge for IT. Fortunately, today there are options to help with these integration issues. You see, unified communication solutions have arrived on the scene to ease the stress on IT and provide workers with the competitive edge they'll need to succeed. To help introduce us to UC, its benefit and challenges, we welcome expert Mike Johnson from Logicalis US. Mike, welcome to the program.
Thank you, Michael. It's great to be here.
Now, Mike, to get started and to clear any confusion that may be out there, could you first give us a good definition of unified communications?
Sure, Michael. Unified communications is a combination of voice, video, and messaging on any device, really anywhere, anytime. And it can also be customer contact, like a contact center.
Okay, now what are the actual components of UC? How would you break it down?
Sure. If you're going to break down a unified communication system, you would start with the interface to the public switch telephone network, whether that's copper or IP based with the internet. You'd also include the application server that provides the dial tone and the dialing capability, as well as the messaging platform and other voice applications, chat applications that make the entire solution come together.
Mike, tell us about the drivers behind unified communications. What's making businesses and organizations want to implement these new platforms?
Well, Michael, to understand the drivers of UC, you really need to understand your business, but typically it involves customer contact, employee contact, and partner contact. And anything you can do to improve that with unified communications will add business value.
And what problems does UC solve? What are the ultimate business benefits here?
Sure. So the business benefits could be something as simple as reaching the right employee that has the right information you need on the first try and making that reliable and scalable. The other things that can help with unified communications would be the messaging platform and instant access to that person without having to pick up a phone. So there's lots of drivers, and to understand your business and how the technology can meet those business needs is the basis of unified communications.
Mike, give us a real-world example of a firm that has successfully implemented a unified communication solution. What led them to a UC solution, and how did it change their business for the better?
You bet. So when we're looking at the case study, for example, we have a large manufacturer based in Detroit, Michigan, with global operations in manufacturing, engineering, and sales. And they had a traditional copper voice system, and it was really holding them back from reaching a competitive advantage with technology. So they contacted us and had us look at their business, do an in-depth analysis of what tools that Unified Communications has in its portfolio that would meet their business needs, such as better communication with engineering in a foreign country and manufacturing here in the U.S. So that was a real-world case study where we were able to analyze their needs, put in the technology that made their employees work together better.
In our next segment, we'll drill down into the details of unified communications by discussing integration challenges and identifying best practices to navigate around them. Cellular and mobile broadband subscriptions are now in the hands of a staggering 1.2 billion of the world's population today. Therefore, technology solutions like unified communications will be playing an increasingly critical role in keeping data and information, such as instant messages, conferencing, email, or voice, unrestricted and flowing freely. But in addition to the obvious and upfront benefits of UC, there's a set of behind-the-scenes advantages being brought to the table. For starters, unified communication solutions can help lower business costs for items such as employee travel, electronic equipment, and facility expenses. In addition, with UC enabling the staff to work remotely, less office space is needed, so rents and building-related expenses will be reduced as the organization grows. Also, telecommunications fees such as toll charges, cell phone minutes, video conferencing, and associated maintenance and repair costs can be eliminated. These added benefits make an even more compelling reason to implement unified communication solutions in organizations today. Now, let's return to our expert and learn more. Now, Mike, can you start off by giving us a sense of the market demand for unified communications? Is it a nice to have or a got to have for organizations today?
That's a great question, Michael. So I would say it still falls in the nice to have category because there are a lot of solutions out there that still operate and get the functions of day-to-day business done. But unified communications is a nice to have when it can improve those interactions, make them a little bit cheaper, a little bit better, and help you retain talent and attract talent to your organization with tools like mobility and being able to support Jabber, which is a chat platform on the device anywhere, anytime, whether that's an iPad or a tablet, a smartphone, as well as the phone on your desk. So I would say I have some numbers that would say about 50% market penetration for unified communications today versus traditional PBXs, and that number just continues to grow.
With technology change, there's always risk. Tell us, what are some of the leading challenges organizations face when implementing a UC solution?
So the challenge would be selecting the proper technology to meet your needs. And if you don't know what your needs are, you better assess those either internally or through a partner that knows what this technology can do for your business. And we have some offerings in that space at Logicalis, as well as the technical know-how to put them in, but the assessment up front to make sure your network's ready and your business is ready for the technology.
Mike, what organizational roles or departments should be included in planning a unified communications implementation? And who usually takes the lead?
Sure. So there's two ways to do it, right? There's a tactical way, which is working with the IT staff. And at the IT staff level, they know their infrastructure and they know what technology needs are. But on the other end of the spectrum would be the strategic people, HR, C-levels, business leaders in sales, marketing, that know what the technology can do for their needs. So it's really a balancing act. You can approach it either way, but if you want to be strategic, you start on one end of the spectrum. If you just want to get tactical and get the solution in and then have it enable the business, you can do it that way too.
Do organizations usually start small and then add features and functionality to the solution? What's the best approach?
Sure. So I have one example of a hospital on the Northwest that chose to enable their executives with the entire suite of collaboration tools first to see how those executives used the technology, and then got the employees to buy in and get excited about the technology, having seen them use it first. That's one strategy. Another strategy would be a true forklift, where you come in and you rip out the old system and you put in the new. So we can help you plan for either way you want to do it.
Mike, from your perspective, overall, how complex is the integration?
So it is a very complex integration, simply because there are so many moving parts in both applications, server technology. Everything's virtualized today. Everything can be redundant or non-redundant. And then there's different connectivity options between your facilities and between the internet providers and the telco providers. So without relying on a partner that has done it before and has a proven track record and certifications to do it, you may run into issues.
And when firms go through the process of implementing these solutions, what are the typical mistakes or missteps that they take along the way?
So one thing that comes at the end of the program is user training and adoption. So if you spend a lot of money and implement the proper technology but no one uses it, that's a bad mistake. So one way to do that is to get their buy-in in advance and get them excited about the technology. Also from a programmatic approach to implementing technology, design, implementation, validation, and support. There's really 4 pillars that have to be completed.
Mike, I'm sure our viewers would be interested to know about the impact of unified communications on the IT and telecom staff. What have you observed?
So, at one point early on in unified communications, IT and telecom did kind of butt heads and be territorial about the technology. But now it's almost a converged infrastructure approach where telecom and IT are maybe even under the same leadership. So that's one consideration. Another consideration is the day 2 support. So you've put in the new technology and you need to manage it going forward. There's some very unique skill sets and training that would have to be accomplished to do that internally with your existing staff. So you might want to outsource that to someone who has a managed services organization that can monitor and manage it 24/7, 365, do the change management, watch out for updates and upgrades, and apply them as necessary. So there's a lot of advantages to that.
Well then, what about training for the regular staff, the end users? What is typically recommended or required?
So I like to take the approach of train the trainer. So no matter how big your organization is, someone typically has a leadership role in customer-facing, employee-facing support, whether it's a help desk or an IT staff person. We, as a partner, will train that person, give them all the materials, allow them to copy them and distribute them, and hold different sessions outside of when I'm on site and let the end user handle it themselves. If that approach isn't something you want to do, you can also bring in a partner who's very good at that too. But definitely there's a lot of new endpoints, a lot of new software, and a lot of new hardware to look at, use, and understand, and taking a training approach is important.
And Mike, do firms typically reach to the outside for help with vendor selection and implementation support? Or can most swing this with regular in-house staff?
Yeah, that's a great question, Michael. I would say my customer base, which is mid-market, 300 several thousand users, have challenges in understanding this technology on their own with internal staff unless they've had them trained in advance. So partnering is really the way to go. The larger enterprises may very well have that knowledge on staff.
And Mike, to close out this segment, can you offer several best practices for a successful implementation of a unified communication solution?
Sure. So the first thing I would do is assess the business situation and understand if there's a compelling reason or event to go to unified communications. That may be that the aging PBX system is no longer supportable and you have to do it. But there could be different reasons. But once you've done that, then you jump into selecting the right provider and the right partner to implement in your organization. Once you've done that, it all becomes execution, such as design, validation, plan, make sure it's supportable, and at the end of the day, reap the benefits of your new system.
Next, we'll conclude with added thoughts and advice from our expert on this important topic. In this report, we have introduced viewers to Unified Communication Solutions. We learned about UC's various components and what business problems it can help solve. In addition, we discussed implementation challenges and offered advice and best practices on how to avoid them. Next, we'll conclude by asking our expert about the current vendor landscape and how organizations can make good choices when selecting service providers. Mike, describe the vendor landscape when it comes to UC solutions. Who are the big players and what products or services do they provide?
Sure. So I like to reference Gartner in their Magic Quadrant. So the 2013 study was recently released, and Cisco Systems, their unified communication platform, was the upper right quadrant leader. And I did an analysis, a blog on hyper right for Logicalis, the Logicalis blog, and analyzed that to mean that they have the right platforms and the right plumbing network to make that user experience solid every time and scalable and reliable. There's other partners and providers out there that can do that as well. Microsoft has a fairly robust platform. There's smaller players like ShoreTel and Mitel, as well as Avaya, who's kind of still remaining in the picture. So we at Logicalis support Cisco nearly exclusively because it is the right choice, we think, for our customers, and we can prove that out.
Now just take a moment and tell us about your firm, Logicalis, and the different services you offer.
You bet. So Logicalis is an IT solutions provider with 700 employees here in the U.S., 3,500 in the globe. We provide services in unified communications and enterprise networking, cloud, data center, and managed services. With that portfolio, we're able to bring solutions to our customers that really can be business enablers that let the line of business, whether that's marketing, HR, or even IT, make the proper choices for their IT solutions.
Mike, organizations need to make good choices when selecting UC vendors and service providers. What would you recommend the selection process include?
Sure. There's two critical things that I would implore anyone to take advantage of. One is references, case studies, white papers. Do your research ahead of time when you're selecting either the partner or the vendor. And then secondarily is demo the systems. You know, I would never buy a unified communication system that someone couldn't bring in to a boardroom and show me its value.
Getting a good return on investment is critical with new technology implementations. What can you say about the ROI with unified communications?
Sure, Michael. When you look at the technology spend and the investment you have to make in unified communications, and you compare that to the cost savings and some spreadsheets that I can bring to the table, you'll see a 3 to 5 year return on investment depending on the size of your organization and the inputs to that analysis that we do.
And finally, Mike, what takeaway advice would you offer organizations looking to implement a UC solution?
Good question. So the number one advice I would offer is do your research, bring several options to the table, take a look at them both from the technology spend and the technology as well as the investments you have to make in supporting and maintaining that system. These systems typically go in for a long time, and making a right choice up front would be the best way to attack it.
Mike Johnson from Logicalis US, thanks so much for sharing such helpful advice on this important topic.
It's a pleasure. Thank you, Michael.
Well, that concludes our report, Unified Communications and Introduction. I'm Michael Quinlan, and thanks for watching.